So, hello everyone. Nice to meet you. This is Bully. He always helps me with the presentation at start. So my name is Shalev. I am the R&D manager of the great CRM group. Woo! Where are you? And I'm from Beersheba, the great office of Beersheba, just an hour drive. You're all welcome to come. And today I have this big feds can do threads. And the question if feds can do thread, yes, they can. Thank you. But why? Why should they use threads when we are talking about the client, not about server and stuff like that? How should they do it? If you want to do it, how to do it better? And why am I even doing this talk today? So it all started about a year ago. I had the exact same page in the Fed clubs, and I was talking about how we built the form builder, this today Wix-Forms, and it was really, really easy. So there is the editor app running in a worker, and the editor SDK do some stuff with the editor, and all great. But not so much, because as we started to develop it more and more, we saw a lot of performance issue of stuff that we were unaware of, and stuff that felt a little less native than building stuff in the editor. And I was like that with the less error. And I was saying, OK, what can I do? How can I solve it? And I was talking, I see Lior and Talo in the audience here, and I was talking a lot to them, and how can I solve it? So I started to say, OK, let's go to the core of the things. Let's understand how those things work. So we all know about these processes, and each process has some threads, and the operating system is handling all the threads, and in our computer we have a lot of process, and how it works in our browser. So our browsers today have a process for each tab. It started from Chrome, but a lot of browsers are joining. And you can see all the processes and everything that my Chrome need to kill my computer. And why does it need all this? Why does my browser needs to have so many memory as handle a lot of things? So it all started when we used to have a much simpler web applications. So we had like an HTML and JavaScript and some Flash files that were running and sending some stuff to the server and getting some stuff back. And we moved to have a full page applications, like our editor, like Gmail, like Facebook. It's not just the simple things. We have a lot of calculation there. And we always think about, OK, we have a full web application, and is JavaScript a single-threaded? One of the most questioned things on the Stack Overflow when you talk about JavaScript. And we know that if you want to do something asynchronically, you can use promises and async stuff. But still, it's the same event loop. It's take your function and put it inside a call stack, and it will call it. But if we have this calculation over here, and it's take about 2 seconds, it means that we have 2 seconds of doing nothing. Everything, the UI is not moving, nothing is moving, and it's all waste for this calculation to be solved. So what can we do to make our site faster? So we have a couple of options. One of the options is just use the server. So we can take the big calculation. I want to solve a big equation that takes about a couple of seconds, send it to the server. The server will do everything it needs. And after how much it needs, it will give me back the result. And everything will run much quicker. But there are still problems with it, because sometimes I want to work offline. Sometimes my internet is not the best. And it takes more time to take everything and get it to the server and get the result back if I can do this calculation. And one of the things I'm going to talk about today is the web workers. What is the web workers? Web workers is just some web content that runs in background threads. And it's really simple to use. You just create a new worker with the constructor of worker. And you send the data with the post message from the app to your web worker. You get the messages with onMessage event, and you can terminate it if you want. And from the other side, you can send the post message to the thread that created you and get a message back. And import script is a function that helps you evaluate scripts to your web app. So let's give it a try. It's much more fun to do some live demo. So what we are going to do today, we're going to start with some NLP. I don't know if you're familiar with natural language processing. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a sentence and just see what's inside it. These things might take a while. I'm going to use the compromise library, which compromise the NLP results, and it's going to be much faster, but it's going to give us the ability to see how can we process data. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to create a simple HTML file, cool web workers, and I'm going to put here an input. Cool, and let's put here some result. For the style, let's just make the input a bit bigger, so we're going to see it. And let's put here a script. And what we're going to do, we're going to use the search and add event listener of key app. And when the key app is ready, we are going to put the result inside. So we have the result and inner text. And I'm going to put the search value. Let's just give it a try. So it says hello, and we can see the hello here. And now we want to use the NLP. And what we're going to do, we're going to create our worker. So let's create a new file, call it worker number 1. And what we're going to do is going to initialize this worker. So I'm going to use new worker with the name of the JavaScript file. And I'm going to put, you're right, thank you. So this is worker 1. Let's just take a look at what we got. Did I open the inspect? Yeah. So if you go into the sources, and you can see that we have here the threads. So we have the main thread and the worker thread. And you can just see what's inside it here. And so let's send him the message. So I'm going to, on key app, go to the worker, and says just post message with the search value. Cool. And now, of course, we have the on message that I'm going, here I will get the event. And I'm going to have the e-data is going to be what I'm getting. So right now, we're going to say hello. I'm going to say hello, and you're going to see that I'm getting it in the worker. So I'm going to use the import scripts that we talked about to import the compromise. So I have the compromise, and I'm going to use it to get the NLP text. And this is the NLP that I got from the compromise, and get the data. And I'm going to send it back. So how I'm going to send it back? I'm going to use the same post message, so a self post message. And I'm going to send back the NLP text. And you have an option to out it as HTML. And just to see what we got, we're going to use here worker 1 and on message from the worker. Let's just log it. OK, the other one. I love dogs. And you can see that I have here a message of data with all the parts that I have of the sentence. So let me just, for example, take the verb. And let's paint it in red. Cool. Let's remove this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the result here. And I'm going to say, OK, let's get the result. And inner HTML will be the data that I'm getting. Again, the other side. So I'll have dogs. And as you can see, it took the red. So it took the text and take the verb and mark it in red. But we still have one problem. And we know that every post message and on message could be async. So maybe the first sentence, the first thing we type will take much longer than the last thing we type, and we need to solve it a bit. So what we're going to do, just for this example, we will send also the original text to check what we are getting, if it's still relevant, the result. So I'm going to send you an object. Let's send the text as the original data and HTML as the HTML data. And I'm going to see that if the search value is still the data text, let me put here the HTML. So right now it should work the same. So dogs, and works great. We made a really, really cool first example. And what have we learned so far? So web worker has its own thread, and you can run anything on it without influencing the main thread. They communicated with post message and on message event. And input scripts will input your scripts to the worker. And the data may be any value of JavaScript with the clone algorithm. So we can pass text, we can pass an object, we can pass functions, and if you pass a class, it will not copy the prototype, so think about what you are passing. OK, so it was really, really fun, and let's give it, wait, it's not the end. I have like another hour to show you more stuff. So what I'm going to do now, so a great sentence is great, but let's add an image there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a canvas. Let's call it image. Width of, let's say, 800, and height of 400. Cool. And when I get the stuff, I'm going to ask for the nouns. So here already says also the nouns. I have NLP nouns, right? Yeah, and data. And let me, for now, just save it in some, let's say, type, and get here the data and nouns. Let's log it, see what we got. Again, the other side. So I love dogs. And you can see that I have an array of the nouns with some options that I have here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say that if I have at least, if I have something in the first place, I'm going to put the type as the nouns. And let's put normal, I think it's the, yeah, normal. So I'm going to put type normal. And what I'm going to do, I'm going, let's put it like if let's put your key only on enter. So if key is enter, I will create an image in the canvas. Let's see if the snippets work, or I have to remember. So I think it's the create of image. Yeah. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a new image, and I will load it. So I have here the image context that I'm going to use. So image get context of 2D. And I will have here the image data that I will create. And let's load it from Unsplash. Let's hope the internet here will work. So the source will be, I think I have Unsplash here as well. Sorry. No. Yeah, on Splash. Great. So just the URL with my type to get an image. So let's see if this one works. I write code and on enter. Yeah. Cool. So I get an image, and it's really, really cool, but it's black, and some of you likes it a bit like white background. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do some image processing to invert some of the pixels. Invert, just take black is white, and the other way one. So what we're going to do, we're going to create a second worker. Let's do a worker number 2, and I'm going to use the onMessage. And onMessage will take my image and do some processing. So I use a function that calls change image. And what it does, it just take the pixels that I have, and it will take the pixel is from 0 to 255, and it will invert. For now, I will just invert half of it, so it will know what is going on here. So we have the text, so it's the data that I'm going to get, and we're going to post message back the change image of the data. So let's go back here, and we're going to create the worker number 2. And here what I'm going to do, I have the image data. Let's also log it. And I'm going to post, I'm going to use the worker 2 and send him the data. Image data, I think it's data. Great, let's see what we have. So I write code, and okay. So as you can see, we have here data. It's, I don't know if you can see. Let's see if I, yeah, much larger. So we have here the image data. It's basically a big array with all the pixels in the image. And we are now trying to send it to the worker and see if you can do some stuff with it. So I'm going to post the data. Let's post message. And when I get the data back, worker 2, yeah, worker 2 on message. I think I have one for that too. Let's put image. Yeah, so I'm going to just use the image context and put image data. I'm going to create a new image data with the data that I'm receiving. I think I need size as well. Great. Let's just see what is not working. Yes, so what is data? Amazing, so I'm changing the text. Let's give it a try. I write code, and when I press enter, it will load the image, we'll send it, and as you can see, half of it is invert. Thank you. So you can see that right now we just add a for loop of about, it can be 1 million and more items, and nothing happens to our browser. And I will give you more. Let's just change it to be an infinity loop, and hope this computer will not kill himself. But right now, I'm doing the same, and I'm not getting the invert image because my code is not working, and we have an infinity loop, but still everything is working. So what I can do in my code, I can see that something is taking much longer than it should, and just terminate it without worry about my stuff will break. Just change it back and hope this computer is still alive. Great. So let's work on our last problem. It's taking a bit more time than we thought to load this image. Let's give it a bit performance test. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to see how much time it's going to take to post message this really, really large array. I'm going to use console time, send data, and see when it ends. So time end. Great. So it takes about less than a millisecond. But let's give him like a bigger image to see if he can handle it. Load code, and it loads the image. Where? Yeah. It's just I'm just checking this post message, so it's much okay. So I can see it took about 78 milliseconds. This is the error that that I didn't change it everywhere. So 78 milliseconds, it's not that much, but if you're going to send a lot of data like this, it can take seconds and more just to send the data. And this data this time is not for a worker. This data is in our main thread. And one of the solutions here is called Transferable Objects. And what we can do, we can take this data, and instead of cloning it, we can just send it to the worker. And with this buffer, I write code. It takes time to load the image, and a lot of time to load the image. Yeah. So after it's done, you see it took less than I don't know, a percent of a millisecond, and it's really, really fast. Because what we are doing here, instead of cloning the entire array and send it to the worker, we are just taking the permissions from a main thread and give it to the worker. And as you can see, we can also try to log the data again. Let's take the image data and log it. I will just put it back so you believe me, it's fast. Great. So when I do this, you can see that the image data now is empty. It seems to be an empty array because I no longer have permissions to this array. So this array is in the permissions of the worker, and only he can change stuff in it. So I'm going to use the same buffer here in my worker. So let's put it const image data. And I can send this buffer here as well. See, and write code. And it's starting to be faster. The send data is really, really, really fast. But we can make it faster. And how can we make it faster? And right now, what we are doing is we have two workers. And what we are trying to do mostly is take this data and just send it to the second worker. And that's taking some time to get an image, get it from worker one, and send to the second worker. And we're going to use a new thing that's called the message channel. And we're going to have two ports to initialize with this message channel. And I'm going to send these ports like a transferable object to each of the workers. So I have worker one. And I'm going to do post message of port 1 as transferable, and the same thing for worker number 2. Let's just send it as an object to make it much simpler. Okay, and here what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that, let's put here like a let port, and if I get a port, I will just save it, and I will stop. And the same thing over here. And let me just put the port here as well. And now that I have the port is the same as the on message and get message from the main worker. So what I can do, I can just go to worker one, and instead of posting the data back to self, I can use port and post message. And this post message will go directly into my second worker. So I'm going to send here, for example, the nouns. Okay, let's send the noun here. And here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say port on message. and get the information. So right now I'm going to have here the type, and it's going to be data. Let's check if this works. So I write code, and as you can see, I get it from the second worker without going back and forth with my main thread. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to use getImage inside my worker. So let's use the getImage. And I'm going to use something called the off-screen canvas to create a canvas in a worker, because a worker doesn't aware of all the window. It doesn't have window. It uses self instead of window. So I'm going to use the off-screen canvas. I'm going to load the same image. And for now, I will just take this image, say like if I have a type, I will just get an image. Let's see, type normal. Let's do it async. So right now I'm going to have here the image data. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to have the new image data will be the change image. So I'm going to use the same change image. Let's put it here. So I have the image data, and I'm going to take the new image data. And for now, let's just put it in some global and send it. And remove a lot of code from our main thread. So right now, everything here, we can just go and, I don't know, just post message, nothing. And when we get the image, we will get the image, and we don't need this anymore. So let's pray to the God of the live demos. And let's see now in the network that something is loading in the background. And when I'm going to press enter, nothing's going to happen because index is transferable of undefined. Okay, I think I just need, so I have it, the get image. I think I need data, and it will solve everything. Let's see, write code, load some stuff, and yeah. So as you can see, and I'll have dogs, and just when I click the enter, the image can come really, really fast. And if you're going to see the performance of it, the main thread will not feel anything, and the UI can move flawlessly. You can use any animations without fear of those being bad when you do a lot of calculations. Great. So here's the clicker. So what have we learned from the second part? First of all, we introduced the transferable objects, like the array buffer and more, that you can transfer from the threads to the web workers. We saw that infinity loops and will not cause your main app to fail, so you can use it and see that if you have something that you have fear to run your main thread, you might want to put it in a worker. And we introduced the message channel to send data between the workers. If you want a full example, you can see it in my GitHub. And if you want to use the workers a bit better and not with the on message and post message, first of all, the platform team create PMRPC to set some functions and just communicate with those workers and even send some functions. And also the promise worker will help you just post message and get them as a promise. So it's much better to handle those requests without thinking about the event that is coming and going back. So my last message to you is know your shit. But really, when you are building stuff and when you are trying to understand And in Wix, we are going to have a lot of more frameworks and a lot of more libraries. And sometimes you're going to develop it and it will be really, really easy. And then sometimes you're going to feel that something is not working right. And that's why I recommend that every time you're going into a new stuff, just know how it works and how can you use it. And if you know how it works and how everything is planned, you can build much better software that run really, really smoothly. And don't spoil me about Game of Thrones because I didn't see the first episode yet. So thank you very much.